Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel. I'm losing feathers. Anyways, I haven't made a video in a while because I've been kind of tired. My kiddo has been waking... Whoa, sorry. Gotta get the cat out of the way. My kiddo has been kind of waking up very early, and so I've been just like... I've been beat. I've been feeling like really beat. Just very tired. Even today, and I think I've also been getting kind of like poor quality sleep. So it's not about just sleep, right? Or how many hours you were able to sleep. It's about deep sleep, right? It's because it's during deep sleep that we are actually getting like quality rest, right? And so, and if that gets interrupted, right? If your sleep gets interrupted, or if you, hey, stop. Um, hey, come here. Anyways, so if your quality sleep or if your sleep gets interrupted, right, or if you're not getting enough deep sleep, then you're not gonna, wake up feeling rested, basically. And that's what's been happening to me. So it's okay. Um, anyway, so what was I going to say? Oh yeah, and also I've finally gotten myself into the gym, which is amazing too. The gym, after lifting, I just feel so amazing. It's like getting out of the sauna, basically. Okay, that's how I feel. You feel like on top of the world, and like you can accomplish and you can do anything, and I don't know, the mood just gets lifted, right? You feel just like a completely different person, like a newer version of yourself, right? And so that's why I highly recommend weightlifting for like everyone, basically. Okay, it is just so good for your bones. Also, as you're getting older, it straightens your bones, right? And it keeps you just fit, and it keeps you feeling good, and it's a natural antidepressant, basically. Okay, so if any of you are depressed, right, if you're not feeling so good, then working out is an excellent way of releasing those negative emotions, right? And it's an excellent way of making yourself kind of feel better. So yeah. Anyways, guys, I was going to discuss in today's video, right? I want to discuss jobs, okay? And so how you shouldn't feel bad about quitting jobs, okay? And I know a lot of us, I know based on my history, right? I've had so many different jobs, so many. And you have to remember, I started working when I was 10, okay? And how I got that job is actually, I was in middle school, right? And so on my way to school or back from school, I don't remember. I think I was coming back from school. There were people just handing out flyers, right? And I looked at the flyer and I was like, oh, interesting. And so they were offering kids jobs, and so this job involved, they would drive you in a van, right? And they would drive you to like certain areas, right? Certain neighborhoods. And we would have to just go and offer people coupons, right? These like lame $6 coupons, right? So that's what I did. I started doing that, and I started making a lot of money, right? I remember mentioning in one of my videos that I made like over $100 sometimes a day, right? And so that was amazing for me, right? And so I, I just, part of the reason on why I got a job is because me and my brother, we lived without my mom for a very long time, and so because of that, I wasn't used to her, and she felt like a stranger, and so because she felt like a stranger, I was also a very independent kid, and very humble too, right? Because we were very poor. And so I didn't feel good asking her about, for money, right? And so I felt terrible about that, and I was embarrassed. To me, it was really embarrassing, right? And so I couldn't ask her for money, but of course I needed things, I wanted things, and I couldn't afford to buy them, right? I didn't have any money. And so I decided to get a job, right? And I got a job, and I started making decent money, and yeah. And so that's how my kind of job journey started, right? But of course, as I've gotten kind of older, right, I had many other jobs. You know, I worked as a manager at Abercrombie and Finch. Okay, I worked in real estate. I worked as a business developer. Right, I worked as a brand ambassador for many different companies. Right, many different companies, many different brands. I can't even mention all of them. You know, and you guys know all of these brands. You know. Um, they're very like popular brands and not so popular brands, right? So different brands. I worked in stores sometimes, you know, in the mall. I worked, of course, as a high fashion model, right? And that was my main job, basically, right? And I worked for many different brands like this, but I'm not gonna mention the modeling part, right? But I worked in many different jobs, basically, guys, right, over the years. I even worked as a caretaker at a nursing home, okay, for like a month or so, okay, not too long, right? So a lot of my jobs did not last for too long, okay? And yeah, my final jobs were working for Google and Samsung, right? And eventually, I found my way uh, into teaching, right? And I became a teacher, and I've been doing that ever since. You know, I've been teaching, and I would say kind of life coaching too at the same time, because teachers are kind of like psychologists and life coaches too. You know, so I've been doing that for about 6 years now. You know, and so I finally found, you know, something that I actually wanted to keep in my life, and something that I enjoy doing, and something that I'm passionate about, you know. And so that's the thing, you know. That's why, you guys, I decided to make this video for you, for all of you, and the reason being is because, you know, for the longest time I really beat myself up over quitting jobs, you know, and not being able to stick to something, right? And I felt like, because I started something, right, I had to stick to it, you know. But, you know, I just want to tell you guys that certain things, they're not meant to be for you for the rest of your life, okay? Um, you know, and the reason being is because you're always learning and growing as a person. That's one thing, right? And in any job, pretty much in any job, eventually, sooner or later, you're going to hit the ceiling, right? Where growth doesn't happen anymore, really, right? And you basically kind of get very comfortable, right? And you stop growing, you stop self-developing, you stop progressing, basically, right? And so you kind of get into this comfort zone, right? And as you know, nothing really grows in your comfort zone. Yeah, you get comfortable, maybe a steady paycheck is coming, right? You're always getting a steady paycheck. You've gotten comfortable, right? And so just because you're comfortable doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing for you, okay? Because, guys, there's a reason why so many of us are so obsessed with self-development, right, and growth. The reason being is because we're always meant to be ascending. We're always meant to be growing and learning, and we're meant to align with our purpose, our true purpose, okay? And all of those jobs, perhaps that you've had, or that you have even now, maybe it was just a little piece of the puzzle that was just meant to take you to a bigger picture, okay? And so you were meant to maybe pick up or polish a certain skill there, you know, or maybe you were meant to learn how to speak to people. Maybe you were meant to get to know people more, right? Learn more about people. Maybe you were meant to, you know, I don't know. It can be anything, really, right? Because not all of us have the same purpose, right? And so I believe some people maybe, right? Maybe I don't know for sure, but maybe some people have a much greater purpose than another person, right? So it depends on you. It depends maybe on your soul evolution. It depends on your purpose here in life, right? Some of us have maybe, you know, smaller purpose, right? But it doesn't make it any less important, right? Just because it's a smaller purpose doesn't mean that it's less important than another purpose, right? That's maybe bigger. Okay, so there's that, right? And so don't feel bad if you're constantly quitting your jobs. It's like relationships too, right? Just because you quit a relationship doesn't mean that you should beat yourself up over it, right? Many of us get into jobs or even a relationship from a fear-based place, basically. Okay, so we get into those relationships or work situations out of fear, right? Maybe even pressure from family, right? Like social pressures, right? And we stayed there too because of social pressures, right? Maybe it's even a financial pressure, right? Because, like, for example, I know a lot of medical staff, a lot of doctors, nurses, they have to stay in their jobs, right? Because they've they've invested too much money and too much time and too much energy into their studies, right? And so it took them way too long to get into that profession, right? But the thing is, right, like what they didn't realize is the reality of the position that they were going to be in, of the job, right? And so now they hate it, but they're trapped. They're feeling trapped because they've invested so much, right? And so there's that reason too, right? And so that's completely understandable, right? And but listen, remember, okay, just because you've invested a lot of your resources and energy into something doesn't mean, and you feel like it's not for you anymore, right? Because you've maybe outgrown it. Maybe you feel like deep down you know that there's something out there for you that's much greater than what you're doing right now. Then trust that feeling, trust that intuitive feeling, trust that intuitive gauge, or nudge, right? Sorry, trust that gauge, not gauge. Sorry, I'm making up words. Gauge, right? Trust that intuitive nudge, right? And go for it. Go for. Get out of that comfort zone and start trying new things. One thing that I pride myself on is trying new things. One thing that I pride myself on is telling myself that trusting myself and listening to myself in terms of what my intuition was telling me. Maybe a certain job didn't feel mentally stimulating enough, right? And you kept on going for the physical jobs, right? Like, supposedly there are different types of people, right? Like, for example, right, some are more mental, right? Some are more physical, right? They do better off doing things with their hands, right? Some are more analytical in nature, right? Although I think we can all develop all of those aspects within ourselves, right? So so yeah, there's that, right? But supposedly some of us, based on maybe genetics, right, or certain gifts that we carry, right, some of us are predisposed to certain positions, right? Certain things that we should be doing, like I don't know, construction work, for example, if you're good with your hands, right? Or I don't know, becoming a financial analyst or something, right? Or I don't know, a mathematical programmer or something like this along those lines, if you're more inclined analytically speaking, right? And so there are different types of people that I've read about, right, with different personalities and different inclinations, right? And so you could be one of those, right? And so maybe because of the fact that you're more inclined to do like analytical work, if you're doing work that's more physical in nature, right, then you're not going to be happy, and you're going to always feel like you need to be doing something else, right? You're going to feel like you're not being fulfilled, like mentally stimulated, right, enough. So you're going to be unhappy in that job, okay? You're going to be unhappy because that job is too easy for you, right? It's not stimulating enough, right? And so there's that, right? So you should consider what kind of a person you are, right? And what will maybe make you happy, right? If you need more mental stimulation, then try to go after into fields that will give you that, right? But guys, however, right, there's a side note here, right? If you are, for example, sometimes, right, we are low self-esteem that has been, that has been kind of created, right, in our childhood, right, because of our parents and their projections of us, right, because of our low self-esteem, uh, sometimes that prevents us from going after certain jobs and going into certain fields that are actually good for us, okay? And so, guys, like becoming a teacher for me, right? That wasn't easy, right? Of course, I had to do a lot of inner work on myself, right? In order to actually believe that I'm capable of being a teacher, right? And so, and before that, right, I took on a lot of positions that weren't suitable for me, okay? They were just too easy, right? They weren't stimulating enough for me mentally, right? And they were just, um, they were basically not in alignment with who I really was, right? Or my potential, even, right? And so there's that, right? So sometimes you have to work on your low self-esteem in order to attract, or in order to finally start going after what you truly deserve, what will align with who you are as a person, or or your purpose, okay, as an individual, right? And so sometimes what you can be looking at, for example, like authors or doctors or lawyers or whoever, or like kind of, or spiritual leaders, right? And maybe you're looking at them and you're like, wow, I'm in a completely different field now, right? And I'm not making any money, right? And like this person really, they're speaking to my soul. They speak to me. I want to be like them. I want to, I want to do what they're doing, but I feel like I'm never going to get there. Like I feel like this is beyond me, right? It's beyond what I'm capable of, okay? But guys, believe that it is possible, okay? If someone inspires you, it probably means that if you're really, really drawn to a certain, public figure, or someone that holds a certain title, right? Then maybe that's what you're meant to be doing, okay? And you can be doing that. You can, okay? You just have to do the inner work in order to get there, okay? And guys, it's not going to be easy, okay? It's going to take a lot of years sometimes, and it's going to take a lot of time. But eventually you can get there, with hard work, with perseverance, with patience, right? You can get there. You can raise your self-esteem. You can, and you can, polish your skills, right? You can, and all of those small jobs in the meantime will help you do that sometimes. And if they don't, just if you have a job that you feel like it's not yours, and you feel like you should be elsewhere, it's okay, because this little job is still teaching you something. You can still get something from it. It's not always about the pay, guys, okay? It's not always about the money, okay? Sometimes it's just a learning experience. It's a learning curve, right? It's like being in a bad relationship. Like, okay, you were in a bad relationship, right? It kind of sucked, but still you learned a lot from it, right? It made you into a better person, right? It made you stronger. It showed you, like, you learned self-love from that relationship, right? You know what you don't want anymore. And so that's kind of like this, right? So sometimes think of your jobs as a stepping stone to something greater and bigger, okay? And to eventually, finding your purpose, right? And like stepping into who you're truly meant to be, right? And what you're truly meant to do as an individual, okay? And so yeah, there's that, right? But once again, right, we have to remember that our purpose is, it's not the same, okay? And that's okay, and that's good, because we need um, people doing a lot of different things, right? We can't all be great. Like one person cannot be great in everything, right? And so we can only wear, 1, 2 hats at a time, right? And so we need others to fill in. For example, if we're weak in something, to fill in and to be good at that thing that you're weak in, right? And so there's that, right? And so every person has a different purpose. And so just because I'm doing, for example, a YouTube channel, right? Like I have a YouTube channel, right? Doesn't mean that you should have one too, right? Because your purpose is your purpose, and you are your own person, and you have to discover what your purpose is, right? And you have to discover what you like, what you dislike, right? And if that means starting a YouTube channel, right? Then go for it. If you feel like, if you're intuitively guided to do that, then do that, right? But if you're not, if you feel like maybe you should be doing something else, then listen to your intuition, right? Listen to your inner guidance. And don't feel bad about being in a certain place that you maybe think, or maybe your ego thinks that you shouldn't be in, right? Because technically speaking, we're always where we're meant to be, and so there's divine timing, right, for everything, and you are right now where you're supposed to be, okay? And just because you see some other person being, much farther along, right, it doesn't mean that you're supposed to be there too, okay? Because like I said, we all have a different purpose. We have different experiences even, right? Different personalities. There's so many differences that we have, right, that you shouldn't even be comparing. Sometimes you want to compare, right, because this person, but don't compare, because they are different. They're not you, right? You are you, and you're meant to be doing what you're meant to be doing, and you're the one that's supposed to discover that thing, right? And that means you have to go out there and you have to try. You have to, of course, listen to your intuition, right? And be guided by that. Be guided by your heart. What is it telling you to do? What is it telling you that you should try doing? Write things down sometimes, take out a sheet of paper. Write down like 10 things that you're interested in, right? You have to think about the person that you are, right? Are you more of a physical person that likes working with their hands, or are you more of an analytical person, right? Or maybe you're something else, right? There are different types of people that are out there, right? Different personalities, the INJF or something like that. I don't know, right? There's that, right? The Myers-Briggs test. You can take the Myers-Briggs test and find out a little bit more about yourself, right? So there's so many different tests that you can take and kind of see what it's telling you, right? So you can use that to help you get to know yourself, get to know thyself a little bit more, right? And so this will kind of also, once again, bring you closer to your purpose and to what you're meant to be doing in this lifetime, in this world, right? And once you step into that purpose, guys, I can guarantee that you will be so happy. You will be overjoyed. You'll get this emotional fulfillment, okay? You will feel like you're making so much difference. And people will compliment you on this. People will compliment you, and you'll finally just get this satisfaction, this emotional satisfaction, and more often than not, this financial satisfaction too. Sooner or later, that's going to come into. When you step into your purpose, that is extremely powerful, guys. It just changes your life. It changes other people's lives, okay? And so it creates kind of this domino effect, right? That cannot be stopped, okay? And so there's that, right? And so don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be afraid to quit jobs if you feel like that's necessary for your growth, okay? You're not meant to be stuck, okay? You're not meant to be stuck. You're not meant to be stuck in bad relationships, and you're not meant to be stuck in bad work situations, okay? You're not, okay, guys? It's just a learning experience, okay? And sometimes that experience was only meant to be for a very short time, right? And so once again, that experience more often than not was probably brought upon by your own fear, okay? So you stepped into that experience because you were afraid of something, okay? You were afraid of being alone, you were afraid in terms of a job, you were afraid of, you know, I don't know, you know, being broke and on the streets, right, and being left, you know, homeless, right? Maybe you were afraid because you were judged, right, and maybe you were pressured to do a certain thing by your family, right, by your friends. So don't let anyone pressure you into something, guys. That's where knowing yourself comes in, right, and that's where really like learning how to stand alone comes into, and not really caring about what other people think of you, right? Society, okay? People more often than not, they will not understand this process that you're going through, okay? But eventually they will understand, and they will probably come to you and congratulate you, right? And tell you like, wow, you know, you like how did this happen, right? So people more often than not, they're going to project their own fears onto you, okay? Or yeah, so don't you know, try to learn to walk alone. It's your own journey. It's a very personal journey, and a lot of people will not understand it, okay? So, and that's okay, and you have to understand this, okay? Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. I don't want to make this video too long. It's already like really long. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm gonna fly away. All right, bye.